Eagles, Niners this weekend. Who better to have on? Who better to have on than the voice of your San Francisco 49ers on your home of the San Francisco 49ers, Mr. Greg Papa. No Jason today. I hope you're okay with just me, my friend. How are you?
You kidding me? We missed you last week, Dave. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. As long as you don't bring up the name Malik Monk, we're all good. We're all good.
I do want to ask you about that in just a second, but I was just actually looking at some comments. I was toying with the idea of bringing this up or not. You know, I know you're not supposed to do this in this business. I know that we all compete, whether it's across the street for me or for you. But we all, I like to think, are some sort of dysfunctional brother and sisterhood in this world of radio and media. And I grew up listening to KHTK, and I also grew up listening to KNBR. I grew up listening to Murph and Mac and Scotty Farrell and Gary Radnich, who's one of my all-time idols, Ralph Barbieri, the whole gamut. I'm a sports radio junkie and have been since I was, 8 years old. So I know, and I read your comments to Barrett Media, so I know you've spoken about it publicly. I just wanted to say I know it's been a tough week, and one of our own, FP Santangelo, was amongst those let go from your station. It's a rough time in the business. I'm sure it doesn't, it's nothing about them at all. It's just the way these things go. But I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you.
Well, thank you. And I love going right back at you. When I moved to Northern California, I listened to KHTK as much as because the signal's so strong. And I go back to when I first got here, it was Dave Newhouse.
Yeah.
And Sports Phone 68.
That's right.
And then it was Ralph Barbieri and Gene Washington before, Gary Radnich. I remember, Frank and Mike in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm gonna get Frank Dill on my show.
Really?
The coming days to kind of reminisce. Those guys I love those guys. I was on
Pete Franklin.
Pete Franklin. Yeah. I grew up listening to Pete on 3WE in Cleveland. That was my first indoctrination into sports talk radio was Pete and flushing after Yankee games. The I Hate the Yankees hanky they had in Cleveland. So anyway, yeah, it's the bottom line is media's changed.
Yeah.
Not just radio and specifically AM radio and in my electric car, I can't even get AM radio.
Same.
I've got to download something different. So how does that impact it? There's so many ways to stream, and we're just kind of dividing up the pie. And look at what's going on in local television with the RSNs.
Yeah.
And, what's going on there. It's just not the same world. When I moved to the Bay Area in '86, it's not the same world as 2006 or 2016. The world just changes. So I'm not sure it's better or whatever it is. There's so many people. I'm watching a football game last night on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, you were like, how the hell am I going to get that game? Now it's second nature. Going to YouTube TV for the NFL package, I think it's been a major improvement, the technology. So I don't know if it's better or not, but it changes. And we as human beings just got to evolve and change and ride with it. But when you get a day like yesterday or the day before, those are not good days. And obviously the people on air, and I've known Murph for years.
Yeah.
I've known Paulie and obviously Frank Paul. FP was an A when I did A's games. We used to hang then. But Lee Hammer, going back to the days when we first started the ticket, Bob Agnew, look at Bob and how his career's gone. He produced Raider football my first year in '97, and then it was Lee Hammer in '98. So I've known these guys forever and ever. So whether you're working with them every day, you see them once a year, it doesn't much change. But I know a day like Wednesday is a tough day for everybody, but we find a way to get through it.
That's Greg Papa joining us, and we are going to talk Niners. One quick thing on Monday, and I know you know this. I mean, these are games the Kings don't win. The free throws, the missed free throws, the Monk miracle shot, the Draymond technical foul, Curry getting called for the kick out. Like these are just through the years calls and things that we don't get, and it still wasn't a great performance. I thought we played like crap most of the game. I guess my question for you, and this is after you guys beat the Clippers who trounced us the other night, by you guys, I mean the Warriors, is in a vacuum that looked like a great fun game between two Titans and the Warriors and Kings, but are the rumors of the Warriors' demise, is there any smoke to that fire, I guess I would ask you?
Well, that's what we're trying to live through. You know, they are going to grow old at some point. It's just, is it today? Is it tomorrow, next week, next year? I don't know. When you watch a matchup like the one against Sacramento, and you guys didn't play a perfect game, but there's clearly going to be a passing of the baton that is going to occur here. Has it already occurred? Are we doing it right now? We thought last year in that playoff series, it may happen then. De'Aaron Fox does not hurt his finger. If Harrison Barnes makes that jump shot on the Sunday afternoon and you go up 3-1, are you the ones, advancing on and the Warriors are out? I don't know, but you see it around the West with what Minnesota's become with their defensive presence and their young energy and the two bigs, and Oklahoma City, and obviously Denver's already arrived. But I still think there's moments for guys like Kevin Durant, guys like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, even Russell Westbrook, certainly James Harden. They're going to have their moments. It's just the 82-game season is different than what happens in April, May, and June, and what you're required to win. So some of these young teams may run by the Warriors early in the year and throughout the regular season. But when it comes time to lock into a playoff game plan and that championship DNA, the Warriors are going to have their moments where they rise up and rise above it. But you just got to celebrate what they've been. And hopefully the Kings get there one day because they're so fun to watch. And Malik Monk is a great player. That Steph Curry turnover in the backcourt out of the trap was like, what happened there?
Yeah.
And then, the Warriors are hurt right now. State the second's going to be out a while. Chris Paul's hurt, and Andrew Wiggins didn't play last night. But I don't know how much you guys followed it up in SAC, but the date, November the 30th of 2023, was 11/30/23 last night, and the Warriors made it the whole theme of their night, the in-game broadcast to celebrate number 11, Klay Thompson, number 30, Steph Curry, number 23, Draymond Green, and IQ. They all played great games last night. In particular, Klay Thompson balled out last night, and I know the spotlight is on Klay all the time at this stage of his career.
Good for whatever person. I had no idea. 11/30/23. I had absolutely good for them. That's a great
Raymond Ritter.
Wow.
That was Raymond Ritter.
Of course
Raymond
it was.
Ritter.
Of course it was Raymond Ritter. Of course it was.
I think so. And if it wasn't Raymond, he takes credit for it. Either way, it's Raymond.
One of the quiet legends of the business. One of those, if you know, folks. Raymond Ritter with the Warriors. Greg.
2 strikes for Ritter. Let's move on.
Right. I will not. Since you have far more class than I will not mention the name of the nationally syndicated sports radio host who yesterday had the hot take of Jalen Hurts shows up dressed like a professional, whereas Brock Purdy wears his hat backwards at the podium, and Brock Purdy needs to be a pro. We spent the last segment on that about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and everybody else who's worn a backwards hat. I have a real question for you, and it's a broad question. In your opinion, is Brock Purdy ready for this moment this weekend?
Brock Purdy was ready for it last year on January 29th. Brock Purdy's always ready. He always gets ready. He's like Moses Moody with the Warriors. You don't have to get ready because you're always ready. You stay ready. And if you want to pick on how guys are, the beautiful thing about Brock Purdy, and I kind of felt this about Steph when I met him as a child when he was first drafted. And Steph's obviously, his people around him and his circumstances have changed. But the core who Steph Curry is never going to change. And it's likewise for Brock Purdy. Brock he's the Brock star. He's the Brock of Gibraltar. He's he's just who he is. So if you want to nitpick the backpack, how he dresses, whatever, people are individuals. That's why we love where we live in Northern California. You do your own thing. No one's going to judge you. And no one's judging Brock Purdy because he's the supreme leader of this football team. But as far as, is he ready? Honestly, Dave, I never worry about Brock Purdy ever. Now, you don't always play well. Look at the difference in the Warriors-Kings series last year. Game 6, Sacramento coming to San Francisco and running them. Yeah. And then Game 7, Steph drops 50. What changed in 36 hours? Just the fate, just the game. You got to go play. Every game is a separate DNA. So Brock may not play a perfect game on Sunday. Every snap may not be great, but I think I'll take the majority of them in a way he's going to play. he's just that guy. I never worry about his preparation, never worry about his ability. We'll see if it rains and if he puts a glove on his right hand or not and all that. But he's the same guy. But I think he has improved. Like anything you do in life, when you do it more often, you get better. He's improved. And I think that he's improved in a lot of ways from last year. And the guy that went in the link for the NFC Championship game. But the biggest way is that play, the Hassan Reddick elbow shot. And, there was pressure there. Tyler Croft didn't make the block, but Brock didn't play that perfectly well. He even admitted to a double hitch. And if he just would have stepped up in the pocket, and Brandon Ayuk had Bradbury beaten on a double move, it was going to be a touchdown. But that's what Brock has improved at. Where last year on that front side pressure he got McGlinchey's side, he would retreat in the pocket and then scramble out to his left over and over again. This year he's stepping up. He's climbing up into the pocket. He's dipping his shoulder to get away from the front side pressure, and that could be a side Reddick Sunday against McKivitz or whomever, maybe George Kittle's over there. But he is a better player. So I think he was ready for the moment last year. I think he's more ready for it now. But you got to go play. He may not play a perfect game. He may make mistakes, but you got to overcome them. But I honestly let the outside world critique everything everybody does, what they dress, what they wear, what they say, what they eat, what they sleep on, whatever, who they sleep with. I don't care about any of that. I just want to watch them play on Sunday. And I know one thing. There's very few players on this team I worry about in any regard because they're all such great pros. But first and foremost, the guy who's going to be the most ready always, and not just for Sunday. He's ready for Wednesday install. I mean, the whole thing runs through big brain Brock. I'm never concerned about Brock Purdy. That's Greg Papa, voice of the Niners, with us. So, Greg, on one side, you talked about the Purdy injury, the fact that the 49ers were an eagle without a wing, no pun intended, in the rest of that game. The Debo and Brandon Ayuk, and there was a lot of talk in the offseason, and everything would point to the Niners. This is a revenge game. This is a game they've had circled, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other side, the Eagles lost the freaking Super Bowl, and they seem to have this aura about them this year that they are dead set on getting revenge for that. They have the one loss, but here we are. The Niners are 3-point favorites. My question to you is this. In your opinion, is there one side that is more bulletin boarded, jacked up for this matchup than the other, or are we past that at this point? I have no idea how they feel at the NovaCare complex in Philly, to be honest, Dave. Right. I don't know. I would think that they look at the Niners and when they're getting ready for this game, they're going, holy crap. Wow, what did they do to Dallas? They just blew them off the field. Yeah. Look at the first half that they laid on Seattle on Thanksgiving night. I mean, how do you play any better than that? So I think there's moments where you're just thinking, wow, they're really, really good. When I was getting ready for the NFC Championship game last year, I had moments where I thought the Niners could stay in the game, but there were moments where I thought, wow, I think they're better. And I think it's going to be a hard game. The night before the game, I was convinced the Niners were going to lose. I just didn't feel right about it. I just felt like they were too good. And it turned out that way. This year, I don't feel that way. I feel the Niners are the better team. I think there's holes to attack with the Eagles. And I think some of the areas where they wanted to attack last year in the NFC Championship game, they're going to attack this year. And specifically, it's James Bradbury. He's a good corner. He's not Darius Slay. We'll see if Slay follows Brandon Ayuk around, if they move Bradbury. But if they don't, Darius Slay will be on the offensive right at left corner. Bradbury will be on the offensive left at right corner. Bradbury's a good player, but people do attack him. I saw Miami, motion Tyreek Hill to a short motion to create an edge to get to him. He's given up 8 touchdowns this year. He is attackable, and I think that's a guy to go at. The middle of their field is beatable. They've lost a lot of people. They lost T.J. Edwards, their middle linebacker from last year, now there. Kazir White, the outside linebacker's gone. They lost both of their safeties. Marcus Epps is now a Raider. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is now a Lion. And they brought in Kevin Byard, and they brought Blankenship's a better player than you think he is. He doesn't look fast, but he plays with instinct. So they got players. They're not going to play 8 out of 11 or anything, but I'm just saying, I feel much better about this matchup. And I have no idea how Philadelphia feels about it, but I know how the Niners feel about it, and they're not going to say it publicly. As you get closer to the game, you just shut your mouth and you go play. But I know they want to go in there and just play Niner football. And honestly, Dave, I feel like, and I was concerned about that game last year on Jan 29, I was. But I feel like if the Niners play, if both teams play an A game, the Niners are going to roll this team. If the Niners play a B game and they play an A game, the Niners may still beat them. So I think if the Niners play the way they're capable of playing, I think they can make a real strong statement to the NFL exactly who they are.
Greg Papa with us. If I've got my back of the napkin math here correct, the Niners counting records right now. So of course the Bengals wouldn't count. They're 3-1 against teams above 500, and in their 3 wins, the one loss, of course, to the Browns. And their 3 wins, Greg, they beat Pittsburgh, they beat Dallas, and they beat Jacksonville by a combined score of 106-20. Is that just rando math to you, or is there something that illustrates that the Niners seem this year especially to step up to the level of competition in ways that are pretty darn dominant?
Well, but I think the 3-game losing streak to me, Dave, I think Cleveland's a good football team.
I agree.
And they've lost their quarterback multiple times.
Yeah.
And they've lost their running back, Chubb. They're a good team.
Yeah.
So going into there and them having their bye week and having it rain and be windy off Lake Erie, there's no shame in that. Minnesota was on fire. The quarterback played so well. And then Cincinnati was on off their bye week, and that was the wrong time to play Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of weeks that he was on complete control, but it was that game and the one before that and the Arizona game before that. But he had a bad calf before, and then obviously something was going on with his wrist. But we picked the wrong time to play those guys. So every game is play to play, series to series, moment to moment. The Niners have been just completely dominant for long stretches. The first 5 games of the year, they won all 5, and by a combined 99 points. They were blowing teams out. Arizona was the only team that could play with them, and the Rams for half. The 3 games we cited happened. There are reasons for that. Niners had injuries. The travel, they were tired. It's not all going to go perfectly. And then coming out of it, they've been on fire. The pass rush is all over people. Nick again. Javon Hargrave is back to being the grave digger. He got 15 sacks the last 3 games. And that's how you play Jalen Hurts, with an even pass rush, not just the edge guys winning. You can't give him a hatch to get out. You got to collapse the entire building. And you can't give him a fire escape, or he's going to get out and run on you. But if you come at it from all angles, inside, Armstead, obviously the grave digger, Kinlaw behind him, Givens behind him, Chase Young, and then obviously your hits guys. You come at him there with Bosa. That's the way you got to do it. So everybody's making a big deal about the Eagles winning close games, and they're championship tested. They win. That's what they do. They win. But my advice to them is don't fall behind against these Niners on Sunday. You don't want to do that. This is not, a team that's going to play sloppily and let you back into the game. Maybe they will. You don't know. It's always a challenge every game. But to me, why are the Niners favored in the game? Despite they're 10-1, the Niners have been the more dominant team throughout the year this year.
Greg Papa, last question for you. Eric Armstead, you mentioned him. I'm just curious if you know. I know you're not the doctor there, but I know he's had a foot issue going on. Does he seem like he's good to go for Sunday?
He's got plantar fasciitis. He had it last year. Very painful. I think he's going to play.
Okay.
In fact, I know he's going to play. But you get into the game, I don't know what they can do to numb the pain. It's a very painful injury on the heel. So I don't know what they can do. He's got to play effectively. You can't just play. You got to play. And if he can't play, they've got a lot of guys behind that can rotate in. And you can move Chase Young inside. Nick's taking some snaps inside. Obviously, you've got Givens and Kinlaw on the grave digger. So I do expect him to play, judging by the way he's treating it and his demeanor. But it's going to be an issue. He had plantar fasciitis last year, and it's cropped up again this year. So that's something that's periodically going to come up and just be really painful for him. But he's going to play, but they need 91 to play at his best on Sunday.
I want at least 2 Ayukas on fires. Maybe a couple of touchdown CMCs. All of it. I want it all. I want that flight back from Philadelphia to be nothing but you dreaming of skiing and Cucciadata cookies and the holidays. I am so got Florida State in the ACC Championship game tomorrow, Nuggets and Kings tomorrow, and I care about it all, but this is like the regular season Super Bowl, Greg. I am so jacked for this game.
I'm going to be anxious to see the ratings both nationally and locally. I think they're going to do enormous ratings. I mean, CBS is not even assigning Jim Nance and Tony Romo a game this week. They're kind of punting. Now, I know those guys, that crew had 3 games in 8 days with Thanksgiving, so I think they gave them a little break, but they're not even going up against it. So this is, and we've had so many big games, obviously, and a few of them involved the Eagles. And, after that, Philadelphia's got Dallas on Sunday Night Football. They got Seattle on Monday Night Football. They just flexed into that game. The bottom line, and the league is not going to say this at all, but if the Niners go in there and beat them on Sunday, it's good for football because it opens up the NFC. If the Niners don't win and Philadelphia wins this game, just do the math. You're 3 back with 5 to play, and you lost the tiebreaker. Are they going to lose 3 games the rest of the year? Probably not. So you've got to make the score, them 2 losses, you 3 losses. If it's tied, you win. And then it sets it up for the Dallas game to be huge, the Seattle game to be huge, the Niner games in the ensuing weeks, the Seattle game to be huge, the Arizona game there. So I think it's ultimately good for football if the Niners go in there and beat them, but that's not what's going to determine this game. And Philadelphia is good. And that quarterback is indestructible. You think he's got a bad shoulder last year, and he's not playing the same, and, well, they keep winning. And he's got a bad knee this year, and he's not playing the same. Well, they keep winning. So, and even when they get outplayed like Buffalo did last week and rolled 500 yards on them, they still find a way to win. So, but I think they realize that the Niners are just different. Are they different than Kansas City? I mean, Kansas City catches the deep shot to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They probably win that game. But he dropped it. So you got to make plays when you have a chance to make plays. But I'll be anxious to see what the ratings are. I think nationally they're going to be huge. Locally, I think in the SAC market in the Bay Area as well, I think you're looking at a 75 share, which means 3/4 of the people watching TV at the time of the game are going to be watching Niners and Eagles. And that's an enormous number.
Those are Papa Lund numbers.
Yeah. Not quite.
No.
AM radio, I don't know if you've heard. TV's, live streaming has killed the radio star. I don't know what it is.
Great poll. That's Greg Papa, the Walking Encyclopedia. Have a great trip out there. Have a better trip back. And win or lose, but hopefully win. I'm really looking forward to talking to you next week.
Maybe it was Elon Musk. I can't get damn AM radio in this car. How do I get 1140? Get out here.
I'm the same. I got the Musk car too. You gotta. It's like KYMX HD2. Yeah, I just play it through my phone, Greg.
Killing it. I get so about that. We don't get credit for that.
No, we don't. I'll have the hat backwards and